Hello, BookTube. It's Friday, so it's time for Friday Reads. This week was a little better for reading than I did last week, even though I had a few bumps during the week with some issues with medication that I'm taking for um, my heart and so forth. But I got past that. Um, And yeah, let's get into it. Last week I hadn't quite finished the fourth book that I was reading, and that was one of these detective. I keep forgetting. Yeah, Detective Club mysteries from Collins, and this is the Mayfair Mystery by Frank Richardson. I have to say, it's one of the. Well, I'm not a. I've come to crime fiction mysteries quite late, more within the last 5, 6 years. It was always something that I enjoyed watching, but I never really read much of them at all. I enjoyed watching them, but for some reason, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started picking them up and reading them. I think that really sort of began with me getting a box set of all the uh, Colin Dexter, Inspector Morse books, and but that was probably well over 10 years ago, I think. But I think that sort of laid the foundation for reading stuff. But anyway, as I say, I'm not that well versed in it because I haven't read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Um, but as these are great introductions. This one's has a introduction by David Braun, and it was originally published in 1929, and this edition is 2015 by the Collins Publications. Now he even says that when they chose books for the Crime Club, or the Detective Story Club, sorry, they it was a bit lax at what was considered crime, and this sort of is, and it sort of isn't. There's a few crimes in here, but it's not the one that's being sort of investigated to a certain extent. Um, yeah, it's just I'll sort of try to explain it. It's set uh, well, it's a contemporary with the time, and there's a doctor who is a famous doctor. He winds up curing cancer, and everybody loves him. And he's very good to old friends and people. One old friend who's got out of the army, um, sort of has had, he's got a sort of a darker past, but he hires him as his butler, basically, or his valet, at, a substantial amount per year, and he doesn't actually have to do much at all. It's sort of helping get him on his feet. But anyway, the valet slash butler is coming back to the house, and he sees the doctor's body on the floor. He's dead. So he runs to another sort of old college buddy, a university buddy, who's a lawyer. And so they go back to the house. The body's gone. There's a pair of glasses that are on the mantelpiece. No body. And then about 3 or 4 days later, the doctor shows up perfectly fine. Everything's okay. But the valet says he was certain that he was dead. Okay, so and then it turns out that the lawyer's Clark's daughter has disappeared, and so there is a mystery there of what's happened. But all of a sudden, a mysterious woman shows up in society. A beautiful woman, filthy rich, and the lawyer gets taken by her. Most beautiful woman that he's ever seen, and he wants to get to know her. He wants to know more about her, but she's very mysterious. And the doctor is renting her one of his houses for a substantial amount per year, but she can pay it. And then, she's carefree. She disappears for times, days or weeks, comes back. Um, and the Clark finally sort of sees her and says that's his daughter. But like the lawyer says, well, there's no, his daughter was plain, ugly. And there's a few things that are very, very strange in here. It's like the character, the lawyer says, that beautiful women don't need to wear glasses because they don't have bad eyes. It's only plain and ugly women that have bad eyes that need glasses. No comments there. Um, so yeah, and it's just a very odd thing. And then every about 20 pages, some character is saying something disparaging about facial hair. It turns out that the author, Frank Richardson, lived his life and had a tirade against facial hair. Well, that's another thing. The doctor had created some kind of cream, um, a baldo, I think it was called, that you'd put on, men would put on their face at night, and they'd wake up in the morning and have no whiskers. Okay, so this is going to be a spoiler, but you need to hear the spoiler for this. Um, the lawyer, like, he gets engaged to this mysterious woman, and they're going out to sort of celebrate one evening, and there's an accident, and she's in the hospital, and she has to have one of her legs amputated below the knee, and she's all concerned. She's got to get back home. It's life or death. It's life or death, but she doesn't. She's in the hospital. She's in the hospital. They're trying to find the doctor, this miracle work doctor. He was hoping that he'd be able to save her leg. And then they do find him, and he's in a sort of locked closet in her house, dead. He's been dead for a long time. So she gets charged with murder. But the lawyer gets her off because it's pretty clear that she was in the hospital while he died. And he died of natural causes, a heart attack. So she gets, she gets off on the murder charge. He's dead. The daughter is still missing, or is she? Well, it turns out that the doctor not only has miracle cures and so forth, but he can, with mesmerism, he can put himself into another body. And he was starting to do this, but he always wondered what it would be like to be a woman. Yeah. So he took the daughter of the Clark, and while he's inside of her, like, his sort of thing is, a woman's only beautiful if she believes she's beautiful as well. And so he becomes this mysterious woman, and then has an affair with his old university buddy. So he tells her about all this. All right, no, she tells she because he's inside her, um, and because now his body is dead, he's stuck in her all the time. And prior to that, he could only stay like a few days before he reverted back. But then now she's gone too. Her consciousness is gone, and they're going, it's not a big deal. She was an ugly woman and poor, and yeah, it's no big loss to the world. That was sort of the view, and it ends with him telling his university buddy, and she's saying to him, she with his consciousness inside, the doctor's consciousness inside, saying, does it matter to you about, our engagement? And he's going, no, it's okay. It just reminded me of the end of Some Like It Hot, where Jack Lemmon takes off his wig and says, I'm a guy, and we can't get married. And the guy says, well, nobody's perfect. And the film ends. It's just bizarre for 1929. I don't know if Virginia Woolf's Orlando had any bearing on this. It doesn't say anything in the thing. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre on many levels. But I enjoyed it. And then I next read, speaking of Virginia Woolf's first book, The Voyage Out. I won't say much more than this. This was written in 1915, or published in 1915, by Duckworth Press, her brother, half brothers, publishing company. But it had a long gestation period, about 8 years, starting in around 1907. And I did a video regarding this early in the week on Tuesday, I think. So if you're interested, you can look at that. So I won't go into more detail. And then I read the Buyer's Market. A Buyer's Market, the second volume into A Dance to the Music of Time. Now, as I've said several times, I had tried to read this series before. I read something like the 9th or 10th book the first time, and then I read the first 2 books, and then I finished it there. I'm not going to finish it. I'm enjoying it a little more, but it reminded me after reading this why I didn't really care for it at the time. Well, there's 2 things I think I've discovered by that. The one thing is because the series is always compared to C.P. Snow's Strangers and Brothers. And to me, from the 3 books that I've read, unless it changes somewhere around the thing, this is very lightweight. There's not much to it. Like, the characters are very, the main character, Jenkins, he's sort of, even the one character asks him, why are you so snobbish? But that's fine. That's the way the character is. But it's very lightweight. And the other thing is, in this book, A Buyer's Market, it's like, give up on the coincidences. It's like, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so for a while. Boom, he shows up. Oh, I haven't seen my old friend. Oh, he shows up. All these people start showing up in things, once he starts thinking, oh, I haven't seen this person for a while. And it's just sort of, and also, too, the main character is already in society. Lewis Elliot in Strangers and Brothers is trying to, he's trying to get into society, and he succeeds, but he has all these other careers as they're going through, and it's, pivotal positions and pivotal things of, between the wars, basically, or up until 1960, but yeah, so I'm gonna continue with it, definitely, because I am now looking at it in a different mindset of, I'm still comparing, I guess, a little bit to Strangers and Brothers, but it's like, there is no comparison. This is just fluff, lightweight to me. Not fluff, but it's lightweight in comparison to Strangers and Brothers. So I'll enjoy it for what it is. There's some interesting parts. There's some cringe-worthy parts in here as well. The way they treat the one character. And nobody seems to really think badly of it. Jenkins sort of thinks a little badly of it, but it's just, he doesn't deserve that kind of thing. So that's an interesting aspect. Now, last Friday, I gave 4 choices for my book to film for tomorrow, for Saturday, and I asked for people to say which one, and I gave a Graham Greene book, Ernest Hemingway, the All Quiet on the Western Front, and a silent film, and sort of the book that it was based on. And the winner of that was Graham Greene's A Gun for Sale. And the movie that was made from that is This Gun for Hire, with Alan Ladd and Veronica Lake and Robert Preston. Now, That's what's going to happen for tomorrow. And the sort of runner-up for it was A Farewell to Arms. I'll speak about that in a few minutes. Seems like I'm missing. Oh no, that's the other book. And then today I read, well, a bit last night, was another one of these, the Detective Club ones. It's Trent's Last Case by E.C. Bentley. And it was written originally in 1913. And this is 2017. And the introduction is interesting because he was friends with Chesterton. And Chesterton basically suggested to him, and like there's even stories that there was a bet between him and Bentley to whether he could write a story or not. And according to everything here, and there's a little afterword by Dorothy L. Sayers as well, talking about the possibility of making it a radio play, and that this turned detective stories on its head, because up to that point, and especially Father Brown was infallible. He was always right. According to this, I haven't read all the stories, but he's basically infallible. And Bentley turned everything on its head. And it's kind of interesting because it's like halfway through the book, he solves the mystery. And then he goes on his way, sort of brokenhearted because there was a love affair, or where he had love for a woman with it. I won't use any spoilers in this one, but other than the fact that he then a year later finds out that he was wrong, or possibly wrong. So he discovers the truth, or is it the truth? So he's celebrating at the end. Then he finds out the actual truth. So there's many times that he was wrong, and then that's why it's called Trent's Last Case, because Trent decides at the end, saying that's going to be my last case. I'm never going to do it again. He's not a official detective, police detective. He's a journalist, and he started out. The character started out with creating solving a mystery just by newspaper articles, and then he got hired by a newspaper to do other things. So he's had a lot of successes at this, and then but he the police didn't solve this one. He did, but it's sort of, he doesn't do anything with that knowledge at the end. But yeah, I enjoyed it. The only thing is, like, I found it funny. Like, there's sort of a love scene in it where he confesses his love for a woman, and I thought it was very cringing. It was just, oh, I didn't think that was very good at all. But then Dorothy L. Sayers says it's beautiful and it's real, and I'm going, did we read the same passages? Apparently so. But it is seems to be thought of highly in the world. And there's another one. There's two others: Trent's Own Case and Trent Intervenes. So I don't know if those are sort of prequels to this or not. I believe they're in the series as well. I don't know if I have them or not, because I don't have the whole set of this, which is too bad. But anyway, that is what I read this week. So I'm sort of pleased with it. I more or less read 5 books this week, and I read 3 last week. As long as I can do about, it'd be nice to do, like, the one week I did 7 books, but they were short. But yeah, it depends on how I feel. And if I do 4 or 5 books a week, I'll be more than happy. This coming week, we'll see how it goes. This will be a reread. Well, actually, 2 will be a reread for me. Is horrible cover. I do apologize for that. It's not the cover that I was wanting, but that's the cover I got. It's Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, and it's a collection sort of short stories that are put together for a novel that was originally done in 1951, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's could be one of my favorite science fiction. Well, it's hard to say, but I really enjoy it, so I'm going to enjoy rereading this. It's been many years. And then I'm going to read the second Charlie Chan mystery, and just look at these that lovely cover. But sadly, they don't do the spine nicely. It's Earl de Biggers, and this is the Chinese parrot. And again, it has an introduction, and been good introduction. The first one was, and this was written in 1932. This is published 2008 by the Academy Chicago Publishers, an imprint of Chicago Review Press. It's deceivingly short. It's just under 300 pages, but it's quite thin. And then, as I say, the next week's read is going to be Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, and that's been a while since I've read that. Wow, crikey. It's like I read this in school, and when I was in... We're talking, the Middle Ages here, anyway. It's a long time. So there's the film. It's Frank Borzage with Helen Hayes and Gary Cooper. And then, at the very least, will be another Detective Club, The Noose by Philip MacDonald. Again, I just love these covers. They got some covers on the back. So yeah, so that is going to be my reading this coming week. And let's see, what else is it? Oh yeah, on Sunday I'll do another shelf of my transport shelf tour, and then on Wednesday I'll do another one, and then we'll see if there's anything else that crops up, if I've got any tags that I feel like doing for Tuesday. But yeah, and I think what I'm going to start doing is I need to find a few other things, but as I say, I'm doing a read of Virginia Woolf's books, and I won't be reading one this week, and it'll be in a couple weeks probably. But I'm going to reread George Orwell's fiction. I'm just sort of trying to find, because I got a few copies of his Burmese Days, and that'll be where I'll start. So I'll probably, once I get the swing of things, I'll read a Virginia Woolf, I'll read a George Orwell, Virginia Woolf, George Orwell, Virginia Woolf, and so forth. There's only 6 fiction novels of Orwell, and then he did the 3 sort of non-fiction, and all the rest are essays. But the Down and Out in Paris and in London, Road to Wigan Pier, and Homage to Catalonia. But yeah, but I'll leave those for a while. I want to get back to Homage for Catalonia at some point, but I want to read a lot more about the Spanish Civil War, and that is not going to happen at the moment, because I've only read that once, and I want to bone up on the Spanish Civil War. So I've got a book, the more recent one, on the International Brigades, but that'll be sort of a later book that I'll read as well. I need to sort of ground myself in a few books on the Spanish Civil War, and then culminate all that with a reread of Homage to Catalonia, and so I can at least piece that together, piece it in sort of the framework of what was happening at the time. But yeah, so that's more long-term goals. Whenever I can get back to reading sort of fiction, I figure I could probably do Down and Out in Paris and London, because that's it's not that complicated of a book. But a lot of things, like I tried to read essays, and it just disappears. But anyway, I'll leave it there, BookTube, and I hope you had a good week, and I hope you have a a good weekend. It's a long weekend here as well. It's a bank holiday on Monday, I've just found out. And I believe it's a long weekend in the United States as well. So it depends on where you're watching from. You might have a holiday there as well. But anyway, take care, BookTube.